In a world where Kevin James is the President of the United States of America. Where are you going? Hello and welcome once again to Movies That Pop. I'm the Kernel. Today we're looking at Pixels. Pixels is the latest in a string of groan-inducing comedies from Happy Madison, Adam Sandler's production company. But this time, he even drags down the good name of fantasy and family filmmaker Chris Columbus, who made, among many other films, Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, and the first two Harry Potter movies. How did he let this happen? Based on a legendary short film of the same name, Pixels is about a group of old-school video gamers who are tasked with saving the world when an alien race sends down giant video games for the purpose of, testing us or determining whether we're worthy of survival. I don't know. If we lose the competitions, then they blow up our planet. So they could have just blown us to smithereens right on the outset, but at least they gave us a sporting chance. Gee, thanks. Now, just who is this movie for? That was the question I kept asking myself. It would seem to be for the folks that fell in love with these classic video games in their youth, but those people are in their 30s and 40s now, and the humor here is just too silly to appeal to people of that age. I mean, oh, look, there's Cubert, and Cubert just peed himself. Poor guy. Look, in short, this movie is uninspired, unfunny, and assembled with what can only be described as laziness by all involved. The rampaging of the video game characters can be fun to look at, but they ultimately aren't able to qualify the film as even a guilty pleasure. Alright, that's the capsule review. Now, let's get in depth. Adam Sandler has said before that he picks his scripts based on where he wants to vacation, which is why he's been in films that are set in a lot of tropical places like Hawaii or exotic safaris in Africa and what have you. Now, Pixels is not set in any of those exotic locales, so instead it looks like Adam Sandler decided to just go on vacation in his head. Although he seems to come alive to run around in the action scenes, every scene of dialogue in this movie features a leading man who has absolutely checked out. I mean, he barely even mumbles his lines. The same thing can be said for most of the cast, with the exception of Josh Gad, who's well known as the voice of Olaf in Frozen, and he earns a few chuckles with some of his dialogue, but often he just devolves into merely yelling or singing or just throwing up too much crazy. One person who throws up just the right amount of crazy is Peter Dinklage. Now you can tell he's having fun as he channels Billy Mitchell, the subject of the documentary King of Kong a few years back. Dinklage, with his voice deepened and brushed with sing-songy bravado.
Then I want a full pardon. I want to get out of here for good. And after I do, I don't want to pay no taxes, like forever. And I want a stealth attack helicopter, like they fly over the Super Bowl, at my disposal at all times, you know, so I can fly around. If the world's still here, I don't want to deal with traffic no more. And lastly, I want you to set up a romantic rendezvous between me, Serena Williams, and Martha Stewart in the Lincoln bedroom.
Sounds like the goofy cousin of Eddie Nero, Rob Lowe's debauched character from Californication. You know what I'm talking about. But Peter Dinklage can't save this movie from itself. I would explain the details of the challenge thrown down by the alien race at the outset of this movie, but to be honest, they're a little hazy. It feels like the writers are making it up as they go along, changing the rules every scene or so, without letting us know. And hey, why are all the characters so reactionary anyway? Here's the plot. The aliens show up, they tell us where and when they're gonna attack, we go there, and we fight them. Then our heroes either win or lose, then the aliens tell us again where they're gonna attack next, we go there, and we fight them. These aliens, who are never seen by the way, just keep popping up every so often with a new challenge, while the dopey Earthlings just shrug and say, well, I guess we better get ready then. It's just lazy storytelling. They never learn from their mistakes or regroup or develop a battle strategy. They just wait for the next battle to be announced by the aliens and then take off. I wonder what video game we'll be fighting today. And also, Adam Sandler's best friend in this movie also happens to be President of the United States, who again is played by Kevin James. On a visit to the White House, Sandler, wearing orange cargo shorts and a polo with the word nerd on it, is able to just casually stroll right into the White House Situation Room, and nobody stops him. Look, it's a comedy, I get it. I'm not expecting the heights of realism here, but did no one think that in the middle of a battle where our heroes are fighting for their lives, the characters couldn't believably just stop everything, take their eyes off the game, look at each other, and start just having a conversation? There's barrels coming the other side, but let's just stop and have a conversation, and I'm sure I won't get hit in the head right now. There's another scene where two characters are driving in a van, and one of them pulls over right in the middle of the street. They both get out of the car and have a conversation in the middle of the road without one of them getting hit or honked at or even a single car driving by. And not one of them just turns to the other and says, hey, you know, we're standing in the middle of the road. This is weird. Again, lazy storytelling. Speaking of which, that laziness extends to the directing and editing too. Almost every early scene in this movie with dialogue seems just off, just oddly paced with long pauses in between lines, and the scenes just kind of lay there. It's just scene after scene with this laborious pace until finally the giant video games start showing up. And okay, this is the one saving grace of this movie, and that's that the giant video game stuff does look pretty cool, especially in 3D. Huge versions of Centipede or Pac-Man being blasted apart by light beam cannons is really the visual spectacle that sold the movie, but as cool as the visuals are, the action scenes themselves are uninteresting because they're so oddly paced and filled with unfunny jokes. This entire experience is just a belly flop. I am awarding Pixels a small bag of popcorn, and even that feels like a gift. And that's only because of the visual treat of seeing some of these gigantic video games is really kind of interesting to look at. But keep in mind, with a little creative searching online, you can find the short film that inspired this movie and get some of those cool visuals for free. It's on YouTube. It's less than 3 minutes, and Adam Sandler is nowhere in it. Alright, that does it for Movies That Pop. Just remember, if you liked what you saw, feel free to tell us by clicking the thumbs up below. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss a review. That does it for today's Movies That Pop. I'm the Kernel. Bye!